Many of the world's oldest wooden bins remain in the Horyu-ji area. Buddhist temples such as Horyu-ji and Gokayama were built in the 7th century, and religious activities continue in these temples to this day. Horyu-ji was first built in the early 7th century, and the current temple complex consists of the Western Temple, the Eastern Temple, and a group of sub-temples. The Western Temple was rebuilt between late 7th century, and the Eastern Temple was built in the early 8th century. In the early 8th century. The main buildings of the Western Temple, main hall, 5-story pagoda, inner gates and corridor, are in an early Buddhist architectural style that does not was made in China, Korea. And the other main buildings of both temples were mainly built between the 8th and 13th centuries. The construction of the sub-temples surrounding both temples began around the 12th century, and the number gradually increased. Many buildings date from the 17th and 18th centuries, making this an area that is rich in cultural heritage that allows us to see the transition of Japanese temple to architecture. Uji Temple was founded in the 7th century, but all that remains today is the 3-story pagoda, completed in Samavilla 6, like the western precinct of Horyu-ji Temple. It is built in the early Buddhist architectural style. Japan's unique castle style, with wooden buildings, stone walls, and white earthen walls, was established in the mid-16th century. Himeji Castle is a legacy of the heyday of castle architecture, and is representative of Japanese castles from the early 17th century. Among Japanese castles, the wooden castle buildings and the structures consisting of walls and earthen walls are particularly well preserved. This castle is also known as White Heron Castle because of its elegant appearance, unified with white walls, and is also widely known by that name. Himeji is a key transportation hub in western Japan, and the feudal lord Ikeda Teramasa, who became the lord of the castle in 1600, demolished the old castle that existed here from the following year to 1629 and built a new castle. The structures and buildings of Himeji Castle that remain today are from that time, and it is surrounded by double moats inside and outside. And the castle lord's residence were constructed in the inner area, surrounded by an inner moat and high stone walls. All samurai residences were located in the outer area between the inner and outer moats.
Outside, that was the castle town, made up of residential and commercial areas for the general public, which was also surrounded by
the castle architecture in the inner area has remained almost perfectly intact from the original, and along with the outer area it is being preserved and developed under a basic development plan. Kyoto, love for capital, Japan will these hundreds with feelings all to 1868. And prospered as a cultural, economic, and political center, except for the period it moved its political center to Kamakura and Edo. Kyoto is a city built to take advantage of its geographical feature of being a basin surrounded by hills on three sides, north, west, and east. The flat area in the center was hit by many wars and fires, and many buildings were lost and rebuilt repeatedly. However, the surrounding lands were spared from disasters, and many large temples, mountain villas, and gardens built using the undulating actual terrain remain to this day. Cultural heritage, such as large-scale monuments such as Toji Temple and Nijo Castle, and streetscapes showing various traditional residential styles are made in the grid system in the flat areas. Toji Temple, founded in the 8th century, is lined with buildings from each era from the 11th to 19th centuries, and Nijo Castle, built in the 16th century, as gorgeous buildings from that time remaining on its vast grounds. Under the large thatch Gassho-style roofs, the houses have 3 to 5 floors, with a spacious living space on the first floor, and attic bedrooms or workspaces on the second floor and above. Typically a large family of several dozen people lived in one house. The Ojimachi area, where about 50 of these 18th and 19th century houses remain. It's located in the middle of mountain fields. It's surrounded by broadleaf forests. The houses are lined up parallel to the central valley, and the steeply sloping thatch roofs create a unique village landscape. Shirakawa-go is located in the mountainous area, almost in the center of Honshu. This area had been under the direct control of the Edo shogunate since the end of the 17th century. And many of the residents made a living by cutting down and transporting forest trees and raising someone's in addition to farming. Silkworm raising was also carried out in the attics of the houses. It is also interesting to note that there is a mutual aid organization for residents called Yui, and the custom of working together to maintain houses such as replacing roofs remains. Shirakawa village, when its rows of houses where large families lived, each with large spaces for living, forms a landscape that is unique, even on a global scale. Atomic Bomb Dome is a Hiroshima prefectural products exhibition hall that was built in April 1958 to promote the improvement and promotion of Hiroshima prefecture's products and contribute to the development of industry. It was designed by Czech architect Gillespie. The site was chosen on the delta formed by the Ota River, which flows from the Shikoku Mountains in the north into Hiroshima Bay, where the Ota River and the Motoyasu River branch off approximately 2,020 square meters off the riverbank were reclaimed, and the former Hiroshima domain rights storehouse and private land were leveled and added to it, making a total of approximately 3,200 square meters of the site. The building was a 3-story building made of brick and reinforced concrete, with a 5-story dome at the center staircase in front and a basement part. The dome part of the roof was covered with copper sheets, while the rest was covered with slates. The height to the tip of the dome was approximately 25 meters, and the building area was approximately 1,002 square meters. A Western-style garden with a fountain and a Japanese-style garden with a gazebo were also developed. The building was located about from up 60 meters northwest of the epicenter of the atomic bomb, and was heavily damaged and completely burned by the heat rays and blast. However, it is believed that the center of the dome miraculously escaped collapse because the blast came almost vertically from above. The explosion point was about 600 meters above sea level, It is said that the name Atomic Bomb Dome was spontaneously coined by local residents at some point in time due to the umbrella-shaped remains of the building's top canopy.
It's a rare shrine in Japan with running buildings built in the sea, in the middle of an island in the settlement sea behind.
The construction of the shrine began in the 12th century, but it was later burned down and rebuilt into a calm spot the harsh environment. The wooden building built on the sea. It has been respected by the strong patronage of successive governments and has continued to preserve its old style to this day. Itsukushima behind the shrine is an island of about 30 square kilometers and has been designated as a special historic site and a special place of scenic beauty. Since ancient times, the main peak, mountain above sea, have been revered, and the entire island was considered sacred. It was believed that this is why the shrine was built here. In addition, the beautiful natural scenery of Itsukushima's lush forests approaching the coastline has been praised as one of the pretty views of Japan since around the 17th century. Itsukushima Shrine, waiting structure, is built facing the sea in this natural scenery. Kyoto was the capital of Japan from 710–784 and flourished as a political, economic, and cultural center. During this period, the prototype of Japanese culture was formed through exchanges with China. Even after the capital was moved to Kyoto, areas centered around large shrines and temples continued to flourish as religious cities. These cultural heritage sites include palace ruins, temples, and shrines. Heijo Palace was the residence of the emperor, located in the north-central part of the capital, and administrative facilities were attached to it. The remains of wooden buildings such as palaces and government offices at that time were still well preserved underground. Many shrines and temples built in the capital and its surrounding areas still transmit the light of the law, and buildings from each era remain, including 8 century buildings. Yakushiji Temple and Toshintachi Temple have ancient Japanese buildings from the 8th century, which are representative of the Buddhist temple buildings of that time. The main parts of Tadaiji Temple and Konfukuji Temple were lost to fires when they were first built, but some 8th century buildings remain within the vast grounds. Many of the lost structures were rebuilt in the 12th century. New Chinese architectural techniques were introduced at the time, with the south gate of Tadaiji Temple being the prime example of this. The condo of Tadaiji Temple, rebuilt in the 8th century, is the largest wooden building in the world. Kasuga Taisha Shrine's buildings were mostly rebuilt in the mid-19th century, and in keeping with the traditions of authentic Japanese shrines, they are rebuilt every 20 years, preserving the traditional style to this day.
Sacred place for the Tokugawa shogunate after Tosho Shrine, the mausoleum of the first Tokugawa shogun Ieyasu, was built in 1616.
Toshogu's shrine was then completely remodeled in 1666, giving it its current size and structure. In 1663, Taiyuan Itamatsu Yuama the third Shogun Nemitsu was built. Since the 8th century, Nikko has been a sacred place for mountain worship centered on Nanai and Tai. And shrines and temples were established at the foot of the mountain and along with Shizenji from early on. At the eastern foot of Manantai, where Toshogu Shrine was built, Rinnoji Temple and Futaro-san Shrine were already located. And these were built on a large scale together. The buildings as the shogunate put all its efforts into building feature many sculptures of people's and animals. Plants that are gorgeously decorated with lacquer coloring and decorative metal fittings. The Ryukyu Islands are located at the southern end of a Japanese archipelago. In the mid-14th century, the Ryukyu Kingdom was formed by unifying 3 kingdoms. The Ryukyu Kingdoms. The Ryukyu Kingdom was established in the early 15th century. The Ryukyu Kingdom's economic base was trade with China, Korea, Japan, and Southeast Asian countries. And a unique international culture different from that of Japan at the time was formed. The cultural heritage that clearly reflects this characteristic is the castle. Not King Castles, King Castle, Kasuran Castle, and not the Risuku Castle, are all built from the pure period of the Great Kingdom to the period of the establishment of the Ryukyu Kingdom. Shuri Castle was built for the Ryukyu King to establish his residence and governing body. These castles were made of coral limestone and have the unique Ryukyu characteristic of using curved surfaces. In addition, the remains of the royal family, such as the remains of Enyakuji Temple, different groups and different kingdoms culture.
Kii Mountains are located at the southernmost tip of Honshu, on the Kii Peninsula jutting out into the Pacific Ocean. They are a mountainous region, crisscrossed by mountain ranges at altitudes of 1,000 and 2,000, with abundant precipitation exceeding 3,000 yen per year in deep forests. The Kii Mountains have been a place of nature worship since ancient times. Buddhism was introduced to the area in the 6th century. The Kii Mountains became a place of mountain training, including Shingon, esoteric Buddhism. Among them Shugendo, which was established from the mid-10th century to the 11th century with the aim of acquiring supernatural powers through mountain training. Is the mountainous region of the Omen Range as its central training ground. It also attracted believers as a sacred place for the idea of Shubutsu Shugo. Unique Japanese idea, energy Japanese gods are the various deities of Buddhism and have appeared in different forms, which was widely circulated in the 9th and 10th centuries. Furthermore, around the 10th and 11th centuries in Japan, the idea of the end of the world and the decline of Buddhism became popular, and the teachings of the Kyoto sect, which prayed for rebirth in the Pure Land, the abode of Amida Buddha, spread among aristocrats and common men. The belief that the Kii Mountains, which spread south of the capital, were pure land of Buddhist deities, further strengthened the area's status as a sacred place. The sanctity of this region was particularly important due to its unique topography, with deep mountains approaching the southern sea and the contrasting landscapes they create. With the diverse forms of faith that were nurtured by the unique topography, climate, vegetation, and other natural environments. 3 prominent sacred places called Yoshino, Omin, Kamado Sands, and Ikoisen, and the pilgrimage routes that connect them were formed. Iwami Ginzan Silver Mine site is located almost in the center of Shimane Prefecture, facing the Sea of Japan. It consists of the former silver mine and mining town, the port and port town, and the roads that connect them, which which represent the entire process of mining development, from the mining and refining of Iwami silver to the transportation and shipping of the metal. The site is physical evidence of the exchange of cultural artifacts and civilizations between the East and West, and is valuable both as an archaeological site that proves silver production using traditional techniques and as a cultural landscape represents the entire range of land use related to the silver mine. Izumi is a political and administrative center in the northern part of the Japanese archipelago in the 11th and 12th centuries, which was built with the aim of realizing a Buddhist ideal. Before gardens at the center were built by the Oshin Fujiwara clan as a symbolic representation of the Buddhist Pure Land in this world. A utopian scene embodied by the careful placement of the Buddha home in relation to the pond, forest, and peak of Mount Kinkai. Three of the four gardens focus on the sacred mountain, Mount Kinkai, illustrating the fusion of the core land ideal with ancient Japanese notions of the connection between gardens, water, and the surrounding landscape. Two of the core land gardens have been restored based on many details uncovered by excavations, while the other two remain buried underground. Furthermore, the heavily gilded Buddha Hall of Uji is the only one remaining from the 12th century, reflecting the immense wealth of the Oshin Fujiwara clan. Located in this once great political and administrative center, the complex of four temples with its Pure Land gardens, a remarkable surviving Buddhist temple from the 12th century, and its connection to the sacred Mount Kinkai is an extraordinary collection that reflects Hirazumi's financial wealth and represents concepts of planning and garden architecture that have influenced temples and gardens in other Japanese cities. Of the world's oldest wooden buildings remain in the Horyu-ji area. Buddhist temples,
such as Horyu-ji and Hokiji were built in the 7th century, and religious activities continue in these temples to this day. Horyu-ji was first built in the early 7th century, and the current temple complex consists of the Western Temple, the Eastern Temple, and a group of sub-temples. The Western Temple was rebuilt between the late 7th century and the early 8th century, and the Eastern Temple was built in the early 8th century. The main buildings of the Western Temple, the main hall, 5-story pagoda, inner gate and corridor, are in an early Buddhist architecturals that does not remain in China or Korea, and the other main buildings of both temples were mainly built between the 8th and 13th centuries. The construction of the sub-temples surrounding both temples bear a century that their number gradually increased. Many buildings date from the 17th and 18th centuries, making Omorat's rich cultural heritage that allows us to see the transition of Japanese Buddhist temple architecture. Okiji Temple was founded in the 7th century, but all that remains today is the 3-story pagoda completed in 706, like the western precincts of Horyu-ji Temple. It is built in the early Buddhist architectural style. Japan's unique castle style, with wooden buildings, stone walls, and white earthen walls, was established in the mid-16th century. Himeji Castle is a legacy of the heyday of castle architecture and is representative of Japanese castles from the early 17th century. Among Japanese castles, the wooden castle buildings and the structures consisting of walls and earthen walls are particularly well preserved. This castle is also known as White Heron Castle because of its elegant appearance unified with white walls, and is also widely known by that name. Himeji is a key transportation hub in western Japan, and the feudal lord Ikeda Teramasa, who became the lord of the castle in 1600, demolished the old castle that existed here from the following year to 1639 and built a new castle. The structures and buildings of Himeji Castle that remain today are from that time, and it is surrounded by double moats inside and outside. The main part of the castle fence and the castle lord's residence were constructed in the inner area, surrounded by an inner moat and high stone walls, while samurai residences were located in the outer area between the inner and outer moats. Outside of that was the castle town, made up of residential and commercial areas for the general public, which was also surrounded by a moat.
The castle architecture in the inner area has remained almost perfectly intact from the original.
And along with the outer area, it is being preserved and developed under basic development plan.
Kyoto was the capital of Japan, where the emperor resided from 794 to 1868, and prospered as a cultural, economic, and political center, except for the period when the samurai government moved its political center to Kamakura and Edo. Kyoto is a city built to take advantage of its geographical feature of being a basin surrounded by hills on three sides, north, west, and east. The flat area in the center was hit by many wars and fires, and many buildings were lost or rebuilt repeatedly. However, the surrounding foothills were spared from disasters, and many large temples, mountain villas, and gardens built using the undulating natural terrain remain to this day. Cultural heritage such as large-scale Mayan monuments such as Toji Temple and Himeji Castle, streetscape or traditional or residential styles remain in the grid system in the flat areas. Toji Temple, find the end of century, is mine Bikuri from the instead of Tamanji century. Lined with buildings from each era, from the 11th to 19th centuries. And Himeji Castle, built in the 16th century, has gorgeous buildings from that time remaining on its vast grounds. Shirakawa-go, it's made up of a crew of large wooded houses. Under the lodge, that's Gassho-style roofs. The houses have 3 to 5 floors, with a spacious living space on the first floor and attic bedrooms and workspaces on the second floor and above. Typically, a large family of several dozen people lived in one house. The Okimachi area, where about 50 of these 18th and 19th century houses remain, is located in the middle of mountain fields and surrounded by broadleaf forests. Are lined up parallel to the central valley, and the steeply sloping thatch roofs create a unique village landscape. Shirakawa-go is located in the mountainous area, almost in the center of Honshu. This area had been under the direct control of the Edo shogunate since the end of the 17th century.
and many of the residents made a living by cutting down and transporting forest trees, trading and raising silkworm as a distant farming. Silkworm raising was also carried out in the attics of the houses. It is also interesting to note that there is a mutual aid organization for residents called Julie. And the customers working together to maintain houses, such as replacing roofs remains. Shirakawa village, with its rows of houses where large families lived, each with large spaces for the living and working for the landscape that is unique, even on a global scale. Atomic Bomb Dome is a Hiroshima prefectural products exhibition hall that was built in April 1915 to promote the improvement and promotion of Hiroshima prefecture's products and contribute to development of industry. It was designed by Czech architect Jan Letzel. The site was chosen on the delta formed by the Oda River, which rose from the Kii Mountains in the north into Hiroshima Bay, where the Oda River, Main River, and the Moriyasu River branch off. Approximately 2,210 square meters of the riverbank were reclaimed, and the former Hiroshima Doming Light Storehouse and quiet land were leveled and added to it, making a total of approximately 3,000 square meters of the site. The building was a 3-story building made of brick and reinforced concrete, with a 5-story dome and the center staircase in front, and a basement in part. The roof was covered with copper sheets, while the rest was covered with slates. The height to the tip of the dome was approximately 25 meters, and the building area was approximately 1,002 square meters. A Western-style garden with a fountain and a Japanese-style garden with a gazebo were also developed. The building was located about 160 meters northwest of the hypercenter of the atomic bomb, and was heavily damaged and completely burned by the heat rays and blast. However, it is believed that the center of the dome miraculously escaped collapse because the blast came almost vertically from above. The explosion point was about 600 meters above sea level. It is said that the name Atomic Bomb Dome was spontaneously coined by local residents at some point in time due to the umbrella-shaped remains of the building's top canopy. Itsukushima Shrine is a rare shrine in Japan with wooden buildings built in the sea of an inlet with an island, a Seto inland sea. behind it. The construction of the shrine began in the 12th century, but it was later burned down and rebuilt in 1241. Despite the harsh environment of a wooden building built on the sea, it has been protected by the strong patronage of successive governments and has continued to preserve its old style to this day. Itsukushima, behind the shrine, is an island of about 30 square kilometers and has been designated as special historic site and a special place of scenic beauty. Since ancient times, the main peak, Mamisen, above sea level's view, has been revered and the entire island was considered sacred. It is believed that this is why the shrine was built here. In addition, the beautiful natural scenery of Itsukushima's lush forests approaching the coastline has been praised as one of the three views. What your plans since our lives and essentially. Itsukushima Shrine, with its unique structure, is built facing the sea and this natural scenery. Was the capital of Japan from 710 to 784 and flourished as a political, economic, and cultural center. During this period, the prototype of Japanese culture was formed through exchanges with China. Even after the capital was moved to Kyoto, areas centered around large shrines and temples continued to flourish as religious cities. These cultural heritage sites include palace ruins, temples, and shrines. Heijo Palace was the residence of the emperor, located in the north central part of the capital, and administrative facilities were attached to it. The remains of modern buildings such as palaces and government offices at that time still are still well preserved underground. Many shrines and temples built in the capital and the surrounding areas still transmit the light of the law, and buildings from each era remain, including 8th century buildings. Yakushi-ji Temple and Tosho-daiji Temple have ancient Japanese buildings from the 8th century, which are representative of the Buddhist temple buildings of that time. Main parts of Tadaiji Temple and Kofukuji Temple were lost to fires when they were first built. But some 8th century buildings remain within the vast grounds. Many of the lost structures were rebuilt in the 12th century. New Chinese architectural techniques were introduced at the time, with the south gate of Tadaiji Temple being a prime example of this. The Kondo Tadaiji Temple, rebuilt in the 8th century, is the largest wooden building in the world. Sugatai Shrine's buildings were mostly rebuilt in the mid-19th century, and in keeping with the traditions of authentic Japanese shrines, they are rebuilt every 20 years, preserving the traditional style to this day. A sacred place for the Tokugawa shogunate. After Toshogu Shrine, the mausoleum of the first Tokugawa shogun Ieyasu was built in 660. Toshogu Shrine was then completely remodeled in 1666, giving it its current size and structure. It seemed fixed degree Taiyuin. The mausoleum of the third Shogun Ieyasu was built. Since the 8th century, Nikko has been a sacred place for mountain worship centered on Mount Nantai, and shrines and temples were established at the foot of the mountain and along Lake Chizenji from early on. Of Mount Nantai, where Toshogu Shrine was built, Rennoji Temple and Thudera-san Shrine were already located, and these were built on a large scale together. The buildings, which the Shogun put all its efforts into building, feature many sculptures of people, animals, plants, and are gorgeously decorated with lacquer, coloring the decorative metal fittings. Islands are located at the southern end of the Japanese archipelago. In the mid-14th century, the Ryukyu Kingdom was formed by unifying 3 kingdoms. The Ryukyu Kingdom was established in the early 15th century. The Ryukyu Kingdom's economic base was trade with China, Korea, Japan, Southeast Asian countries, and a unique international culture different from that of Japan at the time was formed. The cultural heritage that clearly reflects this characteristic is the castles. Kii Castle, Sakimi Castle, Katsurin Castle, and Nakagusu Castle were all built from the period of the 3 kingdoms to the period of the establishment of the Ryukyu Kingdom. And Shui Castle was built for the Ryukyu King to establish its residence and governing body. These castle walls are mainly constructed
of coral limestone and have the unique Ryukyu characteristic of using curved surfaces. In addition, the remains of the royal family, such as the remains of Ingakuji Temple to Mount Omenshikine, give a glimpse into the kingdom's culture.
The Kii Mountains are located at the southernmost tip of Honshu, on the Kii Peninsula jutting out into the Pacific Ocean. They are a mountainous region crisscrossed by mountain ranges at altitudes of thousands and to 2,000. With abundant precipitation exceeding 3,000 m per year in deep forests. The Kii Mountains have been a place of nature worship since ancient times, and after Buddhism was introduced to the area in the 6th century, the Kii Mountains became a place of mountain training, including Shingon, esoteric Buddhism among them. Shugendo, which was established from the mid-10th century to the 11th century, with the aim of acquiring supernatural powers through mountain training, used the mountainous region of the Upper Range as its central training ground. It also attracted believers as a sacred place with the idea of Shinbutsu Shugo, a unique Japanese idea that ancient Japanese gods are the various deities of Buddhism that have appeared in different forms, which was widely circulated in the 9th and 10th centuries. Furthermore, around the 10th and 11th centuries in Japan, the idea of the end of the world and the decline of Buddhism became popular, and the teachings of the Kyoto sect, which prayed for rebirth in the Pure Land, the abode of Amida Buddha, spread among aristocrats and commoners. As a result, the belief that the Kii Mountains, which spread south of the capital, were the Pure Land of Buddhist deities, further strengthened the area's status as a sacred place. The sanctity of this region was particularly important due to its unique topography and the contrasting landscapes they create. With the diverse forms of faith that were nurtured by the unique topography, climate, vegetation, and other natural environments, we pollinate sacred places called Yoshino Homi, Kumano Sensei, and Koya-sen, and the pilgrimage routes that connect them were formed. Iwami Ginzan Silver Mine signs located almost in the center of Sherman Prefecture, facing the Sea of Japan. Oh my God. It consists of the former silver mine and mining town, the port and port town, and the roads that connect them, which represent the entire process of mining development, from the mining and refining of Iwami silver to the transportation and shipping of the metal.
archaeological evidence of the exchange of cultural artifacts and civilizations between the East and West, and is valuable both as an archaeological site that proves silver production using traditional techniques, and as a cultural landscape that represents the entire range of land use related to the silver mine.
Iwami is a political and administrative center in the northern part of the Japanese archipelago in the 11th and 12th centuries, which was built with the aim of realizing a Buddhist ideal. A full garden at the center were built by the Oshu Fujiwara clan as a symbolic representation of the Buddhist Pure Land in this world. A utopian scene embodied by the careful placement of a Buddha hall in relation to the pond, forest and peak of Mount Kinkai. 3 of the 4 gardens focus on the sacred mountain of Kinkai, illustrating the fusion of the Pure Land ideal with ancient Japanese notions of the connection between gardens, water, and the surrounding landscape. 2 of the Pure Land gardens have been restored. There's not many details uncovered by excavations, while the other 2 remain buried under furthermore the heavily gilded Buddha Hall of Chusanji is the only one remaining from the 12th century, reflecting the immense wealth of the Oshu Fujiwara clan. Located in this once great political and administrative center, the complex of 4 temples, with its Pure Land gardens, a remarkable surviving Buddhist temple from the 12th century, and its connection to the sacred Mount Kinkai is an extraordinary collection that reflects the rights to these financial wealth and represents concepts of planning on garden architecture that have influenced temples and gardens in other Japanese cities.